Okay, perfect. Then I'm going to continue again with a bit more teams, this time a little bit less technical, just some tips and tricks on how you can basically stay connected to your colleagues while you're working from home and while everyone is working from home. I'm going to try to keep it relatively short so that we can finish hopefully at, I don't know, in half an hour, so definitely before 12 o'clock so that we can all go back and have lunch relatively soon. And so the focus is wrong. Yeah. So obviously, working from home is a new current standard. So while previously there were a few people who were working from home, and I personally like to work from home 1 day a week, some from time to time if possible. Given the current COVID-19 situation globally, a lot of things changed for a lot of people. So in Singapore, we are more or less all working from home right now. Us office workers are usually at home, unless obviously you're in an essential role, in essential business. But chances are really you and all your colleagues are right now at home. In my scenario, for example, my whole company in Singapore, a couple of hundred people are working from home. When I look at our other countries here in Asia Pacific, Japan, we've got 95% people working from home and only 5% in the office who are essential workers there. New Zealand, I think everyone is working from home. Australia, everyone's working from home. So looking at them, basically, things changed a lot in the past couple of weeks. When we look at February, things were still relatively normal for most countries. But past couple of weeks, really a lot changed. So that switch basically from working in the office to working from home also came with a lot of new challenges and also with other different kinds of changes. We experienced that easily. I mean, we need to figure out where can we now work from home? Do I work on the kitchen or dining room table? Do I have a mini office somewhere? Do I have a dedicated external monitor I can use? Who else is with me at home, etc., etc. So also brings us again back to if we've got meetings, for example, which headset do I use? You may not have something on that's quite enterprise grade. So I'm using, for example, while it is Sennheiser, it's obviously consumer grade headset for my mobile phone that I'm using here right now. A lot of things change basically. And what I want to do is basically talk about a bit how in this time right now, how do we stay connected with our colleagues? So the main question, for example, right now would be, when was the last time you really saw and properly interacted with your colleagues? And if you ask me that one right now, I have to think back, that was sometime in March. My company introduced basically working from home a bit earlier before the circuit breaker period. So I think some colleagues I haven't seen in definitely more than a month, might have been close to 5-6 weeks. Other colleagues, I've seen them obviously in an online meeting, but they're very work focused. So basically, I can call them, I can email them, I can chat with them, but things are a bit different. So two things I want to talk about today is how we can stay connected with them from a work perspective, but also a bit on a more casual, personal perspective, because when you think about your colleagues, while you may not be best friends with everyone, there's still some colleagues that you like to chit chat. It's nice to talk to them on a daily basis. And you just want to make sure, for example, right now, are they okay? How are they doing? Those kind of things. And you can't just turn around and ask them. Things are different. And while we're talking about things are different, obviously you can see a small head popping up here. So my son is also joining the call a bit and interrupting me. So there's no such thing as having non-interrupted time right now. There's always someone who is busy and keeps you a bit distracted. So that's what I just mentioned. So missing right now, when I think about what I've been doing with my colleagues, when I get a coffee and there's another colleague waiting there, we can have a short chat about how he's doing, how his kids are doing, his dog, anything like that, basically. So that's not happening so much right now. Or we go out for lunch together. So 12 o'clock, we all go out and go to a restaurant, go to the hawker center, go to a food court, somewhere basically outside together. Not happening right now. And obviously teams can't help us with bringing us food individually, but I'm going to mention in a second some possibilities. Chatting, any kind of discussions right now, I noticed it. I mean, I'm very focused right now on getting things settled at home with the family. But talking to my colleagues is mostly very work focused at the moment, just to make sure that whenever I've got time to quietly do some work, I try to do that. So what I want to basically talk about now is how can we leverage Teams to partially emulate the above? So what can we do with Teams then to catch up with our colleagues, for example? The first thing we can, for example, arrange a call with everyone. It's a casual Friday afternoon call or Monday morning call or whenever. I mean, no guidance on when that has to be, but yeah, just get together, chat a bit, and talk to each other. So it's always nice then to see each other, talk about a few things that are happening around, and basically that gives you then the option to say, yeah, I want to basically talk to my colleagues again, keep the connection established, and yeah, just ideally, for example, talk about a lot of non-work stuff. I mean, I've got enough work calls with colleagues. I don't want to talk about work with them all the time. Sometimes I want to say, hey, how's the dog doing? Can you still easily go out with him? Or how are the kids? Are they doing home-based learning? How is it right now, the new situation at home, etc., etc. So just have a casual conversation. That is something they can easily arrange. It can be done on a smaller scale with just your close colleagues, for example, the one that you're usually working with, but you can also sometimes make it a little bit bigger. Obviously, for those kind of casual calls, you wouldn't want to invite the whole company, so you don't want to invite 50 people or 100 people. It should be then really something like, yeah, you're going to add 10, 15, 20 max, but even 20 might be something big. So if 10 people show up and just have a nice conversation, that's obviously quite helpful. So the idea is that, yeah, keep things going in the current situation. And if you're worrying, hey, but I've got kids and they're always interrupting me, just want to remind everyone again about this thing that happened, I think 3 years ago, BBC interview. Someone was having a live interview on BBC, and what happened is his daughter came in happily running around. The mother came in also later, the son came in, etc. He kept focused right now, and back then basically it was a very big thing because obviously live interview, kids interrupting, etc. He said afterwards that it was his fault, he didn't lock the door, etc., etc. But what I noticed, for example, is you don't have to worry too much about having kids, dogs, cats, family, whatever around you that might be a bit of a disturbance. I mean, it's the new norm right now. That's how I see it right now, that there's always some small interruption in the background. As you can see, my son is still sitting on my lap watching video right now. I've been on calls where other kids joined in briefly or so, or where the wife was walking around in the background, and things just keep happening. So life still keeps happening around you, and work does not basically dictate your life, you could say, but whatever happens in your life, work is a part of it, but there are also other things happening, and those other things are also obviously important. So while some people may have a dedicated office room or so, a small area where they can quietly work or so, the feeling I get is a lot of us actually right now are working, like I said, for example, from the dining room table, or like me here from a small work corner. But even then, basically, there's always something happening elsewhere around, and yeah, you shouldn't have to worry about what's going on here. Another example quickly on, hey, you shouldn't worry about interruptions. That's something that just happened on a very recent call with Microsoft that I was on. So that's not the actual content from the Microsoft call that was recorded, I think, afterwards. But you can see the Microsoft presenter basically did a recording of himself grabbing the water bottle and leaving again, and basically used that as a background. So that one was on loop for a good amount of the call, basically, also showcasing while such things can happen. Yeah, you can also just make include it basically in current calls, make it a bit of a more casual thing, and make it a bit more entertaining to see what's happening here. And like I said, I mean, the family is always around. That's basically, I don't want to say that's me right now. That's not how I look like, obviously, but the situation is exactly the same for me. So every morning I get up, I turn on my work laptop, I turn on my personal laptop, my wife's laptop gets turned on, my son gets the iPad turned on, and then my daughter starts home-based learning on my Surface. I start working on my work laptop, etc., etc. So There's no such thing, okay, I'm going to sit down now at 9 o'clock and I'm going to work continuously until 11, because there are always those interruptions happening. So I start working on an email, for example, and what happens is my daughter sitting next to me suddenly needs some help with her home-based learning because she's just got a question, doesn't understand what she needs to do or something like that. So this is the current new normal that you should also try to be empathic about and understand if you're in a work call and something like that happens, kids running around or there's suddenly some noise or interruption, etc. A lot of people obviously can't control it easily right now, but that's also the reason why it's actually nice then to reach out to people. So that's actually the last slide, because I want to jump into Teams, because that's what we're going to talk about. We're not talking about PowerPoint. I want to talk about Teams. How can you stay connected now with your colleagues? So I just mentioned, yeah, you can have video calls. You can schedule them, obviously, with them. So you can easily go to the calendar, schedule a new meeting and say, yeah, Friday. No, that's not Friday. Sorry, a bit too soon. Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. I'm just going to organize a casual catch up, for example. I'm going to act on my colleagues, Alex, Ado, and Diego as an example. That's something I can easily organize. I can also check if they got time, etc. That's nothing new. Key thing is really, I just want to make sure that, yeah, we just have a quick, short conversation. Doesn't have to be on a very fixed topic basis, so we don't provide an agenda. Oh, we need to talk about A, B, and C, but rather join the call, talk a bit. If you're done, you just leave again, for example. The other thing you can obviously do is chat with your colleagues, nothing big. And I can see here, for example, just for your information, my name here right now is Megan Bowen. So I see my colleague Alex messaged me earlier asking me how I'm doing, so I can easily then respond to him. That's a very simple thing to reach out to people. Obviously, you can do that via email, you can do a call, you can chat, but yeah, it's always nice to have that casual conversation going in here. Doing well, but kids are interrupting this morning as an example. Yeah, so just keep things going here. The idea is obviously not that you use your chat for work-related topics non-stop. You can also then casually have a conversation with your colleagues around anything else. How are you doing? Oh, I remember you were going to the gym all the time. Do you work out from home right now a lot, or what are you doing? Just those kind of things. So basically try to emulate what you're usually doing when you're in the office. Try to see if, for example, you can also converse with them here direct. And I mentioned the video calls. Obviously, we can also just do an audio call with people, just call them. There are also those possibilities. Not going into detail there. I mean, we all know how to make calls. It doesn't have to happen in Teams, but Teams could potentially support you here as well. Having said that, now, one thing I want to also talk about is, hey, how else can Teams help you here to stay connected? So I'm not just talking about, yeah, having some calls or chats, but maybe also a bit more. So what I can do is, for example, I can also create a new team. I'm going to say this one, I could make an org team actually right now, or a public team. Let's make it public. Working from home. Yeah. Tips and tricks, stay connected. Like this. So the idea is that teams don't have to be always work related. You don't always have to create a team for every new project, and for your departments and everything else that you're working on. Basically, as you can see here already, you can also have a, let's call it a non-official might be the wrong name, but you can get the idea. You can have a keep throwing around the word. You can have a casual team, you could say. So I can have now this team here working from home. What I can do is a general spontaneous meetups, for example. Meet here whenever you want to talk to others, for example. The idea is, for example, you have a channel here. goal is whenever you're coming in here, and I can't showcase that right now, obviously, because I'm not in the Teams client and my camera, everything's on. But ideas, for example, when you go in here, when you're in Teams, for example, you would then be able to, let me just see if I can, no, I can't showcase that. But yeah, you can, for example, directly say here, meet now. There's a button usually, and we can say, yeah, I'm just going to have a meet now. So ideas, you don't always have to, for example, have those scheduled meetings, say, oh, I'm going to meet my team now at, what did I schedule, 4 p.m. on a Friday, but rather you can easily then say, for example, we can use this here, the meet now, wants to use, and to spontaneously basically get together. Who wants to talk about, I don't know, food? That's an example, or something like that. So you can easily then join here. I'm not sure what's going to happen now because I'm in Discord. No, I didn't drop off. Very good. Ideas, yeah. Have spontaneous calls. Don't always just have those scheduled calls, work calls, anything like that, but also just spontaneously meet, see who can join. I mean, that helps if your organization is quite large. Like I mentioned, we've got in Singapore a couple hundred people. If every one of them is in a team and I have a spontaneous meetup, for example, for lunch or so, they can just join in when they want to. They say, oh, there's a meeting going on. I can just join in, maybe have a chat, etc. That can help you really continuously basically meet your colleagues on a more often basis, not just when you've got your meetings, but also when you, I don't know, just feel like talking to somebody. Because when you're in the office, there's always somebody around. You can quickly walk over, talk to them. When you're at home, obviously, you have no idea what they're doing right now, but chances are, hey, maybe they also want to basically talk to someone right now. And I mentioned earlier, for example, previously you went out, had lunch with colleagues, etc. Not easily possible right now, obviously, but you can have your online lunch, for example. For me, basically, I usually have it with the family, but I'm considering, for example, also talking to the team, hey, shall we just meet once a week or so, for example, from 12 to 1, and yeah, everybody just turns on their webcam, sits in front of their laptop, and yeah, basically meet during lunchtime. Everyone eats not only by themselves or with the family, but yeah, talk to the colleagues during lunch, for example, talk about what you're having, anything else again. Make things spontaneous and meet with them. The other thing we can do here is obviously then, let me just switch browser here. So I'm going to come in here now as, that should be Alex, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'm now Alex. So I should have been added, yeah, I have been added here to the working from home team. So what I can do is, obviously, I can easily now do a couple of things. I can share work from home tips in here. And I can easily then obviously discuss here. So the idea is then, I keep saying it, don't always make things work related. That's a very important thing right now. I think while everybody is very busy right now trying to settle into the new situation and keeping the business moving, etc. Sometimes you just also need to switch off and do something non-work related, but you might want to do that sometimes with your colleagues. I'm not telling you, oh, you should talk to your colleagues non-stop every single day, have all those meetings, talk to them in here all the time. Obviously, family is usually around. You might want to chat with friends separately somewhere else. But when you've got your colleagues, try to interact with them regularly to basically show them again you are around, you're working with them, you're supporting them, etc. So create a team that everybody can join, or add them, talk to them in here, share them tips, or yeah, what's everybody having for lunch today? And you can see my spelling is horrible today. Keep those kind of discussions basically going. If you ask me personally right now, that's basically what I haven't been doing properly, for example, at the beginning of the circuit breaker, and also when my company started working from home. My colleagues were working from home, and I met them from time to time on official work calls. We joined and then we stopped again, and that's about it. I have no idea what they've been doing, how they've been doing, more importantly, how things are doing with them on their end, etc. I keep mentioning it, but keep checking in with them, not just the ones that you're working closely with, but also others. So overall, basically, you could really leverage the meeting functionality and the channel functionality, as you can see, also for non-work related stuff. Obviously, you should still be using it also for work-related things. So obviously, that's where you can still also stay connected with your colleagues on the other end anyway. For me, that's my regular day-to-day business anyway. That's normal that I go in. I'm a member of a couple of teams, not just here in my demo here right now, but obviously within my company. And we share experiences, we work on projects in teams, etc. That keeps going. So obviously Teams allows you, for example, if you are working on certain things, but you don't have a team yet, you can easily create a new team related to a project, add your colleagues into it, and you can continue working on it. So you can obviously continuously, for example, work on files here easily. If you ask me, for example, about how has the COVID-19 situation impacted my company's Teams usage, we saw a 50% increase in the number of teams actually since the beginning of the year. So while we saw continuous growth, obviously, and we probably would have still seen a continuous growth, I'm not attributing all the 50% to the current situation, but a good number of the newly created teams were, for example, created relatively recently in the past couple of weeks. So basically, teams, work teams, work groups, realizing, oh, we don't have a place where we can work together online, so we need something, and then creating a team, a new space for them to get together and do all their daily work, for example. Also, when it comes to calls, for example, we see, I'm trying to remember that number, it was extremely large number, I think 16 times as many calls right now than we saw at the beginning of the year, while we saw regular meetings and spontaneous one-to-one calls, for example, at the beginning of the year, January and February. It just took off a lot from March onwards. Now that everyone is working from home, and I'm getting interrupted again, sorry. Oh. Here you go. Sorry, yeah. We saw that huge increase in the number of calls and meetings happening. No? Okay. Okay, then go upstairs. Yeah. So really, a lot of people are now shifting from, I'm sending out emails to work on projects, and I'm keeping my files on our file share. They realize that, within Teams, I can have my team, I can store my files here still, I can have conversations. So instead of sending out an email or so or chatting, I can have all the conversations centrally here easily. I can easily jump in and make comments here, and my colleagues can see it. So instead of really having all that work-related activities in separate systems, I think Teams is really showcasing its strength here right now. You don't have to do it in Teams, but there are a lot of benefits of doing it in Teams, and a lot of us are really seeing those benefits for a long time, and other colleagues then are seeing those benefits relatively recently only. What I wanted to basically say also is then having Teams here then does not only allow you then, as I said, have those casual calls, have those work activities here, put them in here as much as you can actually right now. Looking forward, for example, it doesn't mean that once, for example, the COVID-19 situation is more or less under control and everyone's going back to the office, then you don't have to use Teams anymore. You can still leverage a lot. You can still continue using Teams easily. You can make sure, for example, while you may be no longer properly connected to your colleagues, while you may be again properly connected to your colleagues in the office, you can also then obviously still continuously leverage Teams to, have regular calls with them if you are suddenly deciding to work from home, etc., etc. Did he leave the door on again?
Daddy, I leave someone a paper of the dolphin
later.
And so many animals.
And as you can see, interruptions are non-stop, so having a quiet moment is close to impossible, especially obviously on a Saturday. As we're approaching lunchtime relatively quickly, just one quick important thing actually. You want to stay connected to your colleagues, but sometimes your colleagues also want to stay focused and want to not get interrupted. That might also be the case, or you want to do that. Because while you want to have all those meetings and chats and calls with people, sometimes you might just want to say, no, I need really some quiet time right now. I really want to have some focus time. So obviously you can easily then, that's the important thing, don't forget about it. You can say you don't want to be disturbed right now. Your status is set to do not disturb. Only your priority contacts, for example, can message you. So if somebody tries to message me right now, no, I don't hear the notification or so, unless the person is, for example, in my priority list. I don't have anyone here right now. So what I can do is, for example, Alex, for example, might be one of the guys that are really important. I need to get notified if he contacts me. I can obviously then add him to my priority contacts. And no, that's what I want to do here. Alex. Correct. Good. So that's basically the last thing I wanted to quickly mention here. So 11:50 sounds good. So that was, I think, around close to 30 minutes now. Are there any questions? I mean, it was not really, as I mentioned, not really something where there was a lot to showcase directly. It was more of a information sharing and best practices sharing thing. Is there anything you want to know regarding functionality? Okay, many of users making noise that the Teams only has 4 windows. Any idea Microsoft is going to improve that? Let me show that. Okay, so this question here, 4 video windows. You can see here, okay, I'm in the bottom right here right now, but I can see here Rene is still around and I've got 3 other windows. If you look at Zoom, for example, you can have, I don't know how many people in there, 25 or even more. Google Hangout or Google Meet also provided. I see it in my daughter's online learning when she's got class with her teacher. There's 30 girls plus 2 teachers in the call, and a teacher can see an overview of everyone. So question is, Microsoft Teams here, you can only see 4 video streams right now. The good news is Microsoft has been working on that for some time now. It's been tested internally already to increase it. And they're going to actually push it out actually much sooner. They started rolling it out to certain companies and tenants already. They will start rolling it out to everyone gradually by the end of this month. So they said actually when I say end of the month, let me just confirm, that was, I think, yeah, basically after next week sometime. So the last week we should be able to see it, or beginning of May basically. We will not see 16 or 25 video streams concurrently. Microsoft wants to make sure that quality does not suffer. So obviously, when you look at, for example, the video that you see here of Brennan, imagine you've got suddenly 16 video streams coming in high quality. You want them to still be good. So we will see a 3x3 grid by the end of the month, meaning you will have the possibility to see 9 videos, 9 people here on the screen concurrently. So again, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then you should have it. Then it should be available for you. Things are happening relatively quickly at the moment. So that means, let me just actually go to, so I'm just trying to remember one link. But I was posting about it recently. I'll just quickly open it and show it to you around actually, well, All right, Twitter's not running right now. Mark Cashman, announcement, tech community. All right. Okay, not sure what's going on right now, so I have to give it verbally. I can't show it to you. So Microsoft is actually pushing out a lot of updates right now. I'll try to post an update link quickly in the meetup after our call today, once my browser's opening pages again. So they are really pushing, like I said, pushing out a lot of updates or something. No, it's going to load forever. So they are really pushing out a lot of changes right now. You can see the custom background. So you see Brennan here is changing regularly. That's happening right now. For example, within Teams, they're pushing out video improvements. They're making a lot of other things available, actually, sometimes a bit sooner than initially planned. But what you can see is then that there are a lot of improvements happening right now from Microsoft side regarding Teams, obviously what we're talking about, but also in the Microsoft 365 space channeling. And like I said, I'll post that link later. We can then also check those updates that are happening. So you see basically what Microsoft is pushing out, working on, or has recently, for example, made available. All right, 11:55. Any last questions? If not, then I think we're gonna finish our call for today, and everyone can start to prepare and get the lunch. Okay, good. No further questions then. Thank you everyone for joining today. Yeah, we had a good turn up. Just one last reminder, Global Azure, we will have the session online. It's going to happen next weekend. So if you haven't seen it, check it out in Meetup. Session details will be provided soon. Right now it's just a placeholder, but next Saturday there'll be a bigger event than what we have right now. Today we only had a few sessions. Next Saturday there'll be a lot of Azure related sessions, and we hope to see some of you or all of you then next Saturday again as well. All right, thanks everyone.